You are listening to KELP El Paso. Feed your mind, feed your soul at 1590 AM, 95.9 FM. Streaming worldwide at KELPradio.com.
915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. You can visit desertvoice.media to learn more.
915 TALK.
The world is looking at El Paso.
What will we say to the world? From the KELP studio in El Paso, this is 915 Talk.
And now your host.
Good afternoon, beautiful citizens of the borderland. This is 915 Talk, and I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we are broadcasting from the heart of the world's largest borderplex. We're here at the KELP studio in El Paso, and we have Kenny on the board this afternoon. Kenny on the board, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm doing well too. You know, it's almost Thanksgiving. There's a lot to be grateful for, and you know, when it's summertime here in El Paso, when it's summertime, we're thinking about how hot it is, right? And then in the spring we have the windstorms, the sandstorms, and in the winter it's cold, but we have about 2 weeks of really good weather, and we're having that weather right now. So we need to be aware of that. These are our 2 weeks of good weather, so let's be grateful for them and let's enjoy them. And we have another thing to be grateful for today, Kenny, on the board. You know what that is?
No.
We have a very special guest in the studio. Do you know why he is special, Kenny, on the board?
He's the unique expression of an endlessly creative God.
Yes, he is the unique expression of an endlessly creative God. Also, we often say that our guests are true sons or daughters of the borderland. He is not a true son of the borderland. He is not a true son of the borderland.
That's okay, we're a Christian radio station. We'll forgive him.
He comes from the fancy part of Texas. Do you know what the fancy part is?
The part that's like 14-hour drive to get to?
Yeah, it is the one far away. He's but before I say where he's from, I think he's the first guest on 915 Talk to be wearing cowboy boots.
Nice.
Yeah, so that seems, he has them up on the table right now. So he's from Dallas. He's a fifth generation Texan. On this program, we often talk about what's happening here locally. I think our listeners are very well informed on what's happening in Washington, D.C., but it's very rare that we're talking about Texas. And we happen to be a part of Texas, even though it doesn't always feel that way. So it is good to be informed of what's going on in the state. He's a fifth-generation Texan, a businessman, a former Texas state senator. He's known for his Tea Party conservatism, anti-corruption efforts, and fiscal hawkishness. He's currently running for Texas Comptroller in the 2026 election.
Okay.
Kenny on the board, do you know what a Comptroller is?
My job, control the computers.
No. We'll find out what that is. Not controlling the computers. No, that's not a comptroller. We'll talk about what that is. He's emphasizing dodging government waste to fund property tax relief. And I'm hoping today that he can prove to me that he can actually lower property taxes, because if he does that, I think I could probably retire, because if El Paso's leading in any way, it's with property taxes. So, without further ado, let's give a very warm Borderland welcome to the one, the only, Mr. Don Huffines. Mr. Huffines, welcome to 915 Talk.
Oh, thank you, Andy. It's great to be here in El Paso. It's just a beautiful city, very much underappreciated by the rest of the state.
Right. You know the right thing to say when you come to El Paso, because it's interesting for me. I'm relatively new to the borderland. I've only been here a few years, but it can feel very much like we're on an island out in the middle of the desert. And, it's Austin is far away. And what difference does it make what's going on with Texas politics? So the first question I want to ask you is, of course, Kenny on the board made the joke about what is a comptroller, the one who's controlling the computers. That's, of course, not what it is. But it's interesting. I didn't know what that was until recently. How would you describe the job?
Well, it's pretty simple. It's the chief financial officer for the state of Texas. It's an elected position by everyone in the state. It's a statewide election to fill the post. And I like to remind everybody that when our state constitution was created after Reconstruction in 1876, the legislature that wrote the Constitution wanted to make sure that the comptroller was an independent. It was independent of the legislature.
Oh.
Most people don't realize that.
Okay.
And because the old cowboys that wrote the Constitution, they didn't trust the legislature or the executive branch to handle the money. So they wanted somebody independent, elected by the voters. And so the voters would be and are my boss.
Yeah, you're already running ahead of me. You told me you liked El Paso, and you told me who you answer to. So you don't answer to the legislature. You don't answer to the governor?
That is correct.
Okay, you answer to the people.
That is correct.
Okay, so if you're elected, how are we going to keep you accountable?
Well, I've had the same cell phone number for 30 years, so you can call me. Or you can come to my open houses, and I'll have town halls. But the comptroller is an extremely important position. It's very much it has its tentacles reaching everywhere in the state of Texas, and I can go into a lot of detail about that and what it does and doesn't do.
Right. Well, let's start off with something that's very near and dear to the heart of every El Pasoan. If the internet is correct, it says that you claim that you're going to eliminate school property taxes. Is that true, first of all?
Well, if I had a magic wand, I certainly would, and I've got a great plan to do it, but I have to convince a few folks in Austin to follow along with it.
Okay. So tell me how that works.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. School property tax. I've been a champion on property tax and eliminating the burden of property tax on all property owners. You know, in Texas, unfortunately, everywhere in the nation's the same. You never really own your own real estate. You don't own your own home, business, farm, ranch, or anything else. You just rent it from the government, as we all know, and because it's called property tax. Even if you pay your mortgage off, you still got the rent to the government, and you don't know what the rent's going to be. Except generally, you can assume it's going to go up every year.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's true. If you don't pay your property taxes, you lose your home eventually, as far as I understand. So in effect, it's you don't actually own your home. So how is this going to work with schools?
Well, the Huffines Liberty Foundation that I created, it's a charitable organization. It's a C3 that I created a few years ago. We've done a lot of white papers on it. We've done a lot of study on this, and I've got Excel spreadsheets. I've got a lot of information on how it can be done, and it's basically fiscal discipline. I'm a champion of compressing the rate. In other words, right now the state of Texas pays the state government about 50% of the school cost. And I want the state of Texas to pay all of it. And so it take time, but we use our state surpluses and we buy down the rate every year. Might take 10 years, 12 years, but it can be done using our state surpluses. If we don't have a surplus, we just pause it for a year or two until we pick up our revenue back up.
Okay, so where does the state of Texas then get that money?
That currently is getting a lot of money. Right now, our surpluses are last session were over $25 billion, and session before that they were $40 billion.
And where did that come from?
It comes from our it comes from sales tax primarily,
okay.
But all the revenue sources the state has, which oil and gas tax, franchise tax, the business tax, hotel, motel tax, liquor tax. Texas has quite a few taxes.
So help me be sure that I'm understanding you correctly.
Sure.
There are all these other taxes. We have plenty of oil and gas in Texas, of course. There's the sales tax, which I think is a big one.
That's the biggest.
But you're saying that those would cover the cost of running the schools, and it would not be a burden on the property.
Well, the surplus of that amount, my proposal would be take 90% of our surplus, which 20 billion, or it's 40 billion, or 10 billion. You take 90% of that, and you apply it to the M&O tax.
Okay.
The M&O tax. That's the maintenance operations tax on the school districts.
Okay.
And that would compress the rate eventually down to zero.
Okay. Then I'm trying to understand. So in a local community, what happens if there's an issue that comes up and the school wants more money? Do they need to then go to Austin?
Well, they would. But the funding formula is probably what it's up to the legislature what they want to do, of course. And I'm a champion any way they want to do it. But the funding formulas, my numbers show the funding formula is staying the same. We don't we don't need to increase any tax, and we don't need to create a new tax to make this work. What we need to do is apply all of our surpluses. Revenue surpluses to buy down the property tax. And yes, it would be up to the legislature, but it's currently up to basically to the legislature anyway.
Okay.
Because the school districts are at the whim of the legislature of how much money they can keep, what the daily weighted average is, how much revenue they get. All of that's up to the legislature.
Okay. All right. And we will cheer on anyone in Austin who's looking at lowering property tax rates. So we'll be following that. On your website, donhuffines.com, it says that you're a strong Christian. We're here on Christian radio. Where does faith come in political leadership?
Well, for me personally, it's everything. My life and the foundation of my life is Jesus, family, and business in that order. So it should be everything for everyone. Where it comes into politics, for a lot of people, is not enough. It just doesn't.
Right.
There's not enough discussion about it. There's not enough believers in politics. We have some. We have some, but we could do a lot better.
So you would, what I'm hearing you say is you would challenge the church to become more involved in politics?
Absolutely.
Okay. What does that look like?
Well, I think there's been a real miscommunication with a lot of pastors in the past that they're very worried about losing their C3 status, charitable status, and with the IRS audits and things like that. And I think the records speak for themselves on that no church or very few have ever been audited and lost that C3 status. And I think a lot of pastors have used that as an excuse because they don't want to take a strong stand for virtue, because they're scared of alienating some of their members, their congregation. But I think it's a mistake. I think the Texans are so thirsty right now for strong leadership. The young people today, they want guardrails in their life. They want to believe in Jesus, but they want. The most conservative faiths right now are doing the best. The ones that are definitive on what is a true Christian and what Christianity is about. And if we can get Christians out of the pews, we can have a much more virtuous society and a more virtuous political world.
Yeah, I've heard you use that term before, virtuous society. What does a virtuous society look like?
Well, it's the difference between really knowing right and wrong. I mean, this is and knowing Jesus. I mean, you just be biblically knowing Jesus. And if you have to, let me give you an example. If you have to worry about your neighborhood and people stealing from you, right, or molesting your kids or whatever, you're going to always need the government. The government's going to have to come in. You're going to call the government. You're going to call the police. Oh, wait a minute, you got to come in. But who's holding your neighbors accountable? Who's holding them accountable to being a virtue? And it needs to be there. It needs to be everybody. If everybody's aligned in a Christian belief, this is a Christian country. Well, people might not agree, but this country was founded on Christianity.
Okay.
And as long as everyone's aligned with that, I think it will have a virtuous society.
Okay. If you're just joining us, we're with Don Huffines. He's running for Comptroller of the great state of Texas. He's here in El Paso. He's here at KELP. We're talking all things Texas. We're talking about government accountability. We do need to take a break. When we get back from the break, I'd like to hear a bit of where maybe you think Texas is maybe not spending money in the right places. But we do need to take a break. This is your daily reminder that 915 Talk is a production of Desert Voice Media. The website is desertvoice.media, and you can listen to this or any previous 915 Talk conversation as we learn to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
915 Talk is listener supported and is a production of Desert Voice Media. That's right. It's people just like you who make this program possible. Together with Desert Voice, you can learn how to better serve our neighbors and pray for our community. To become a Desert Voice Media partner, you can visit desertvoice.media. That's right. That's the website, desertvoice.media. Take a look and join us today in reaching our borderland for Christ.
915.
Testify.
I went to federal prison, got out, and went straight back to hustling on the streets, doing the devil's work, basically. I was doing a lot of bad things. I had a lot of darkness in my life. I turned my back on my daughter, and I chose drugs over her. I didn't see that I ever wanted to stop. I thought that my life was going great the way it was until I went to this one rehab. I reconnected with God again. There I learned that God is merciful, and He's graceful, and He will forgive you no matter what you do wrong in life. I'm living a better life now. I was broken. I was in the dark. I was damaged. I didn't think that anybody would ever love me until I found God. The darkness turned to light, and He saved me. I am not a victim. I am a survivor of everything. I'm Lauren from El Paso, and if God can do this for me, He can do it for you.
And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb.
And by the word of their testimony.
desertvoice.media.
Have you ever wondered what it might be like to connect your Sunday faith with your Monday work? Hi, my name is Tiffany Etterling, and I'm the host of a brand new program right here on KELP called the 323 Podcast. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, do it as unto the Lord." Through stories and conversations with business leaders and difference makers, the 323 Podcast equips listeners to honor God in the way they lead, create, and serve. Because in everything we do, our work can reflect the one we serve. Join me each and every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. for the 323 Podcast, right here on KELP Radio.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back. We are back. Are we back, Kenny? Okay. We are back. We have Mr. Huffines' microphone is working.
Chicken.
Yeah, we're good. All right. We are back. You are listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we're with Mr. Don Huffines. He's running for Texas Comptroller. And during the break, you said you have some stories. Tell just a little bit more about the faith component of political leadership.
Well, really what I want to talk about, Andy, is what my faith, a little bit, and how much it means to me. In 2010, my wife, Mary Catherine, and I, we've been married 38 years. We have 5 grown children. Now we have 10 grandchildren, and we homeschooled them throughout their schooling career and make sure they would grow up in a conservative Christian environment. But in 2010, Mary Catherine and I were talking, and we said we need to get Jesus in our nation's capital. And we just felt this calling to do that. So on my own, I started soliciting how we could do it, and I decided to buy a radio station, kind of like you.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, so I bought WMET.
Okay.
I had to get a broker and all that, and I had to find it, and in Washington, D.C. And I said, well, if we can get Jesus on the air in Washington, D.C., maybe we can get some of the demons out. And it's 50,000 watt.
Wow.
It was a big one, nighttime, 5,000.
Okay.
It had a big audience of 4 million.
Wow.
And so it was a major purchase. Took a lot of my money. I didn't
Sure.
raise any money
Sure.
for it. And it had a different format at that time. I forgot, different music and different things like that. But we immediately converted it, and I leased it out to Guadalupe Radio.
Okay.
which was Spanish and English,
Okay.
but primarily English.
Wow.
And it was not commercial, so they had to raise money and to stay on the air. And
Wow.
so it was, and they still broadcasting today, and
Wow.
they've got an office now. We moved the offices so you can see the Capitol as you broadcast.
Wow, I'll have to reach out to you for, I guess, some advice and counsel on how to run a radio station. I'm very new to this, so.
I don't know about that. We didn't make any money at all. It was
Right.
strictly charitable work.
Gotcha. That's very cool. Very cool. Very cool.
I thought you might like that because you're in the space. Yeah.
For sure, for sure. All right, well, let's talk about government waste. Is there anything to really talk about as far as that is
Well, of
concerned?
course there is. What do you think? I mean, I think Trump's proved that in Washington, D.C. We've been gaslighted for decades of where our money's really going, who's really getting the money, you know, and it's going to be the same in Texas. And we're spending $500 million a day in Austin, Texas. That's $350,000 every minute of every day is what our state government's spending. We have over about 220 state agencies. The Comptroller has eyes and ears on every bit of that money. The Comptroller is tasked with collecting all the revenue and then overseeing it and making sure it's being spent properly. And I'm also the procurement manager for every agency, and everything they buy that costs over $100,000 has to come through the Comptroller's office. I'm also in charge of the school choice program. There's so much the Comptroller does; it's phenomenal. But let's just talk about where we have. In my campaign, it's DOGE, Texas, Department of Government Efficiency, and to root out fraud, waste, and abuse, and that's what I'm going to do. And
So let me jump in right there,
okay,
because
sure. Go ahead.
when you think of Texas, or when I think of Texas, I think of a Republican state primarily. So the way I was raised is the Republican Party is all about small government. So what I'm hearing you say is that's not the case.
That's not the case. That is correct. You're correct.
So when it comes to DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, which is goes back to Elon Musk, the early days of the Trump administration. Again, what are some of those areas that you're saying $500 million a day, $350,000 every minute is spent by the state? I remember what Elon Musk said. He said, it's like you're standing in a room with a dart, and you throw the dart, and you're always going to hit a target because the entire wall is covered with targets when it comes to government waste. What are some of those targets in Texas?
Well, I've never heard that. That's a good one. I really like that. I'm going to use that because it's really true. Yeah, it really is. Well, it's where we spend the most money in Texas. Education, health, and human services is 70% of the budget. Like I said, there's over 200 state agencies, and so DOGE is more than just cutting the spending. I can't really cut the spending because I'm not a legislative position. I have to spend the money as it's appropriated, but I have to make sure that it's being spent properly and wisely. I mean, I have a fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer.
Right.
I mean, I'm a taxpayer. You're a taxpayer. You don't want to see your money wasted or stolen.
So it's always interesting to me how things work. So the legislature makes the budget. It's your job to make sure it goes where they said it's supposed to go. Where would be an example where you would find that it's not going to the right spot?
Well, let's look at health and human services. There's a lot of Medicaid and Medicare fraud. We need to investigate that. The federal government does a lot of that investigation, but the state doesn't because they hand that over, not as much as they should, because they hand it over to the federal government. But I look at that, well, it's my income tax money. You know, we need to look at that. Same with the food stamps, the SNAP program. There's often a lot of misappropriations in those programs, and so we need to check it out. Or is the money being spent properly, wisely? Does it fall into directives of the agencies what they're supposed to be doing? Another thing you could look at is we have like TxDOT. I'm in charge of all the contracts the state agency has. Well, not in charge of, but I have eyes and ears on that.
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk more about TxDOT. After property taxes, that might be the number 2 issue that El Pasoans are interested in.
I think everybody in Texas is interested in TxDOT. Unfortunately, that orange barrel is going to be our new state symbol because it never, it never goes away.
Right.
So back on the spending, here, let me just tell you real quick story. Okay, another quick story.
Yeah.
When I was in the Texas Senate, I represented Dallas County, the north half of Dallas County. And there was a tax on my property tax bill, a small tax, but it's countywide tax. And I kept asking questions. What is it? Who is these people? What are they? And it's simple. I'm a common sense fella. I'm a businessman, and I've been successful in business. And my motto in business is seeing beyond the obvious. Seeing beyond the obvious. And that's what,
beyond the obvious.
Yes, sir. And it's also solving the problem and not the symptom of the problem. And that's politicians don't like doing that. They create the problem. But,
well, let me tell you my favorite short joke.
Okay.
I'm here. I'm from the government. I'm here to help.
Yeah.
That's the whole joke.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway, you can continue.
That's the same way. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'll finish the story. I'll make it quick if you want to. But okay, so I'm investigating this group, and they had 3,000 employees in an elected-wide county board. It was called Dallas County Schools, not Dallas Independent School District. And they morphed themselves into providing a lot of transportation. Had thousands of school buses for some of the ISDs, and bottom line is they would not answer my financial questions. I was just saying, what are you? What do you do? Why do you exist? How much money do you spend? Where do you spend the money? And they got really worried. Then I got more worried when they wouldn't answer it, of course. So then I got the Texas Rangers involved, and then we realized that we had a big problem. Okay?
Wait. What I'm picturing is Chuck Norris reached out to the Dallas public school system. Is that what you're describing?
Yeah. Well, it wasn't hand-to-hand combat, but it felt like it. And it wasn't Dallas Independent School District. This is a separate group that provided transportation. It was 100 years old. It left over when Texas didn't have ISDs. We had countywide schools.
Okay.
Harris County had one. Dallas County had one. And they had office buildings. They had software companies. They were a big group. Okay. They had a lot of stuff. Well, anyway, the bottom line was we got the DA involved in Dallas, then the FBI took the files, and the FBI got 6 people to plead out of stealing a lot of money, and it was millions of dollars. Yeah. And 6 people went to prison, including the mayor pro tem, the city council of Dallas. Sitting on the city council of Dallas. Dallas is a big town.
Sure.
Big council. Well, anyway, 6 of them went to jail. And I got them closed down with legislation I did in Austin. It was a lonely battle. Nobody really helped me except the investigative reporters on the NBC station in Channel 5 in Dallas-Fort Worth. The point is, what these guys spent in 1 year, the state of Texas spends in 9 hours. And I ask you a simple question. Have you ever heard anyone in Austin going to jail for stealing your money?
Okay, so I'm picturing...
And I'm not saying there's a lot of people in Austin doing that, but I'm saying if you don't look, it's kind of hard to find it. If you don't know you have a problem, you can't fix it.
Right. So in that story, I'm picturing Texas Rangers on horseback chasing down Dallas public school buses. I'm sure that's not what actually happened. How do you actually...
Close.
How does that actually work? Do you just pull up a Excel spreadsheet and look through the numbers? Do you have a team that does that? How do you actually find misappropriated funds?
It wasn't that hard. It really wasn't. And instead of just looking at the revenue and the expenses, we dug deeper and looked at, well, what was on their balance sheet? And they had, for instance, the main way they were stealing money, they were buying cameras. They would flash people as they drove by in their car from the stop arms, and they would give them a ticket.
Wow.
And they bought this it's more than you want to know. It's a lot of detail. But then I got a copy of the contract. They bought this license agreement for $24 million. It wasn't worth anything. But those guys they bought that license from then were giving them kickbacks. And the cameras they had on their books for $500 for 5,000 that they paid 500 for, and they had them stacked in warehouses. So you got to dig in really to what it's more than just looking at it, like I said.
What was your position at that time?
A state senator.
State senator. So as a state senator, you had the opportunity to do that, and then where do you report that you found this? You said the FBI, the Texas Rangers.
That's correct.
You go to the office and say, "I found this."
Yeah, called them.
Wow.
Yeah, call them on the phone. Yeah, and they actually, because the state senator, they return the call.
Oh, sure.
Right. Yeah, they're gonna, come meet with you. Okay, what you got? And
because Kenny on the board and I were going to make some phone calls, but it's easier to do that if you're a state senator.
Yeah, and actually, when you're not, they don't call back.
Good to know.
That's really true. Neither will the FBI.
All right. So super interesting to talk about all these things. If you're just joining us, we're with Mr. Don Huffines. He's running for Comptroller of the state of Texas. Most importantly, to know about him, he's the first guest on 915 Talk to be wearing cowboy boots. Also, he arranged for the Texas Rangers to find misappropriated funds with the Dallas School District. But it is super interesting to learn about because, of course, in an economy the size of Texas, which is bigger than the economy of Italy or Russia or Canada, there's a lot of money, and we do need to be responsible with it because that's our money as the citizens. We have Charlie 1 on the phone. Charlie 1, what are you seeing out on the roads this afternoon?
Few trouble spots, but mainly, Andy, the freeway really stacked up. I'll tell you why, because I-10 West at Reynolds. Now, usually on a Friday, we have a lot of stacked up traffic on those westbound lanes going towards the bridge, but let's put a crash on top of that. I-10 West at Reynolds, we have a crash. Even though it's on the right shoulder, we have looky-doo, spectator delays. So right now, the backup is back to Airway. Possibly now I see it going back to Hawkins, westbound lanes, Hawkins, all the way down to the Reynolds area, just you're bumper to bumper, especially that right lane, but mostly all lanes are very stop and go. Right lane, bumper to bumper, the other lanes stop and go. So I-10 West from all the way from Airway, Hawkins, all the way down to Reynolds, stacked up traffic right here, really going to slow you down on the commute. A crash working on the east side, Robert Wynn in Montwood on that crash with injuries, so extra caution here. So the freeway really jammed up here. Andy, back to you.
Charlie 1, it's yet another busy day on the El Paso roads. This afternoon we have Texas candidate for Texas Comptroller in the studio, Mr. Don Huffines. And he comes from Dallas, and I don't know if in Dallas if they have any good menudo, but while he's here in town, where would you recommend that he try our local El Paso menudo?
I've heard from relatives in Austin, Dallas, Los Angeles, in Washington that they just don't have that real delicious. They have good food, other kinds of food, but menudo and mole, those are things that are really hard to beat here in El Paso. And the best ones in making the menudo, you can find that at Mi Perlito Cafe. You gotta enjoy that menudo right here while you're in El Paso, but you're not going to find it in other places. Mi Perlito Cafe, 3120 Traywood. Andy, back to you.
Thank you, Charlie 1. We'll talk soon. And we're back with Mr. Don Huffines, candidate for Texas Comptroller. We just heard about what's going on in the roads. Let's talk TxDOT because we're confused here in El Paso, Mr. Huffines, because we're right here next to New Mexico. We're always told Texas is a rich state. New Mexico is a poor state. We're told we don't pay, we only pay our property taxes. We don't have state income tax. But for some reason, whenever we go over to New Mexico, their roads are better than ours. What's going on?
Well, I'd like to know the same answer to that. I'd like to know the answer to that question. I think TxDOT is just operates like they did 50 years ago, 70 years ago or more. And one thing I want to do, Andy, is being in charge of the contracts for most state agencies, or the right to look at that. I shouldn't have said that. I'm not in charge, but I have the right to review them. And in my business, I've built hundreds of miles of roads, and I would never sign those type of contracts as I see them on the highways, where they're constantly fixing the same road. And most of the time, no one's out ever working on the road. And, I think they really underestimate the value of Texans' time in their commutes and their driving and how dangerous it is to be working on the road. They should be signing contracts with a sense of urgency to have these roads finished. They're always 15, 20 years behind the demand curve. And they've got plenty of money, it seems like to me. I mean, the federal government's sending them, from the Biden administration, sending Texas billions and billions of dollars. So I just think they're signing the wrong contracts, and I hope as comptroller I can have eyes and ears on that and help educate them to the fact that we don't want any more orange barrels everywhere, and to get ahead of the demand curve.
Yeah, it's let me ask you a question of personal taste that has incredible political implications here in El Paso. So in Dallas, you have a deck park. Is that right, over the freeway?
Yes.
Okay. El Paso is talking about building one. What is your view on deck parks?
Oh, I think they're great.
Okay.
I like them. I like it a lot. And actually, Dallas now has a new one by our Dallas Zoo. So it'll be 2 we have in Dallas. They're extremely popular, and it really gives a sense of place to the city.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I do hope we get a deck park, and I hope they get it installed in less than 2 weeks, because otherwise we're going to have a lot of traffic for a really long time.
They can't get the landscaping done in 6 months. I don't think they're going to get that deck built.
Right.
That's a 10-year program.
All right. So we've talked about education. Let's get back to that just for a moment. You said that the Comptroller's office oversees the new school choice voucher program. What is your view on the school choice?
I'm a champion of it, and I really am. And the new legislation that got done in the legislature calls for the Comptroller to be 100% in charge of it. One person, the Comptroller. All rules, regulations, everything about the program falls to the Comptroller. So I'm excited, really excited about that. When I was in the Texas Senate, I actually wrote legislation for education savings accounts, and that's what this program's about. I'm a free market champion. And I believe in capitalism. It saved the human race. And everything we have in America, if you look around, everything you wear, touch, do, buy, purchase is all about competition. Everyone, all the businesses competing. And that's what we need in our school system. We need competition. This program's not about making government schools worse. This is about being a tool to make government schools much better. And I think it'll be very successful, because it's what's best for the student and the parents, and not what's best for the school that matters. And most of the program, 75% of the program, of the 100,000, 75,000 is for children with learning disabilities or other issues they have, or it's economic or whatever. So I think this is going to be, I hope to make it a very robust program. And I want the ISDs to compete for those kids. And look, most kids are not going to participate, because all their friends go to the neighborhood school, and there's no sports in a lot of these private schools, and they want to play football or whatever. And there's a lot of church schools that are going to participate, parochial schools. And so I'm very excited about it.
Okay. All right. If you're just joining us with Mr. Don Huffines, he's candidate for Texas Comptroller. We're talking about the great state of Texas. We're talking about government waste, doging Texas, creating efficiency. We're about to take a break. Before we go into the break, KELP Radio would like to thank all of our impact partners for joining us in this journey to serve our community through radio ministry. Today, I would like to point out Caring Companions. Caring Companions, if you have an elderly loved one who requires some assistance around the home, or maybe you just need a break once in a while, you can check out caringcompanionsep.com. Really good folks there. I have friends who use their services, speak very highly of them. caringcompanionsep.com. You can view all of the KELP impact partners by going to KELPradio.com. Scroll down. It's just local businesses, churches, nonprofits, educational institutions who have joined us in this journey to serve our community. We're going to go into a break. Do not touch that dial.
We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial.
Greetings, KELP listeners. This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. If you are without a church home, we would love to have you join us for worship and Bible study. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org.
This is Pastor Steve Castrita. I'd like to extend the invitation for you to join us in service every Saturday at 5 p.m. at Redeeming Grace Church, El Paso. We are located at 2400 George Dieter inside Iglesia Philadelphia. We're a young church on the east side of El Paso with no smoke, no lasers, and no gimmicks, just the uncompromising Word of God and a call to win the 915 for Jesus Christ. We'd love to meet you and your family. God bless you, and thank you for listening to KELP.
Greetings, KELP listeners. This is Terry Gray, pastor of Calvary Chapel, Sun City, and speaker on the Summons broadcast heard each weekday at 5 p.m. right here on this station. Calvary Chapel, Sun City is located at 960 West Borderland Road on the west side of El Paso. We hold services on Wednesday evenings at 7 and on Sunday mornings at 9 and 11. If you are without a church home, we would love to have you join us for worship and Bible study. You can find out more information about us on the web at www.ccsuncity.org.
We're back. You're listening to 915 Talk.
We are back, and you're listening to 915 Talk. I'm your host, Andy Frecka. Today we are talking about Texas. We're here in the 915, but we're talking about Texas. We're with Mr. Don Huffines. He's a candidate for Texas Comptroller. Mr. Huffines, when I have any political candidate in here, I think, man, you must be tired running for office. Why is it that you put all this effort into running for an office?
I hope I don't look tired. I am kind of tired.
Anyone I meet, and on this program, we've had just all different types of candidates. And even when I look at like a local, let's say, constable race, they're out there all the time.
Yes.
They don't take a moment off. And as comptroller or as a candidate for comptroller, you're running all around the state, I assume. And why are you doing this?
I'm doing it for my love of Texas, and that's a fact. And my love of the taxpayer. I'm the taxpayer champion. I'm a bulldog for the taxpayers. I don't give up. And to that very point, I'm the only elected office holder in the history of the state of Texas, and of course, according to the Secretary of the Senate, that never took any money from the state, from the taxpayers. No pay, no pension, health care reimbursements, travel vouchers, per diem, nothing. No pension, nothing. And that took a lot of work to make sure I got that done. And I'm going to do the same as comptroller. I'm not going to take pay, pension, not one dime of taxpayer money is ever going to hit my pocket. And so I'm doing this because I think Texas needs this. And if it's not me, then who? And look, if we don't want to doge Texas now, when are we going to do it? When we're spending $1 billion a day instead of $500 million a day? And I say, then by who? I have the receipts to prove that I have the courage to make this happen.
Right.
And I ask this rhetorical question, quick question. Who runs Texas? And it's not the legislature or the executive branch. It's the administrative branch. Our state is run by bureaucrats.
Right.
And, they need to be reined in now and again. And I love to use this analogy real quick. No one wants to clean out the garage when you go home. I mean, it's kind of the last thing you want to do.
Right.
You do it like every few years.
Yeah, Kenny on the board has a big mess in his garage. He doesn't want to
Nobody
take care
can
of it.
even get in it. I bet you can't even park in it.
That's true.
But you sure, nobody wants to clean it, but you sure like pulling in when it's done.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do for Texas.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, because my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it appears that what I understand, there are 3 Republicans running for comptroller. And so actually the primary is really the election, because as far as I understand, there's not going to be Democrat candidate for comptroller. We've had Christy Craddock, who's one of your, I guess, Republican opponents here in this studio. I talked with her. There's also Kelly Hancock. I think really any Republican candidate is going to say we need smaller government, we need to cut waste. But when I look at these three candidates, what makes you different?
I've done it.
Okay.
I've got the receipts to prove it. I'm the only candidate that's running for any office in the state of Texas that can say they put 6 people in jail and shut down a government agency. I was doging before anyone knew the word doge. And that's why I have so many endorsements in my campaign. I can absolutely go through that.
Let's talk about endorsements.
Okay. Well, let's talk about endorsements. Well, when I got into this race 8 months ago, a lot of people were very excited. The grassroots is very excited because I've been a delegate to 12 state conventions. I've been a delegate to the last 5 national conventions. I'm the true Trump candidate, and MAGA candidate. I supported the president in 16, 20, and 24. I bundled money for him, donated money for him. Couldn't be more excited for him to be president. Ted Cruz endorsed the campaign. Vivek Ramaswamy's endorsed the campaign. He's the guy that helped co-creator of Doge with Elon Musk. Ron Paul's endorsed the campaign. Chip Roy. Wesley Hunt, he's running for the U.S. Senate in Texas. Keith Self, Congressman. Brandon Gill, Congressman. Matt Gaetz. Every conservative organization in the state of Texas is lined up behind my campaign, along with almost so many great conservatives. And one that I'm really proud of, I have 75% of the state Republican Executive Committee, which is unprecedented in a competitive primary. I've got our national committee men and women. The former vice chairman of the National Party, RNC, has endorsed the campaign. It's really just all the good conservatives, all the Republican Party is united behind my campaign.
And according to the internet, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you have quite the war chest.
I do.
Tell me how that works, why that's important.
Well, before I do that, I did want to tell you that one endorsement that I've got that's heavy on my heart that I knew was Charlie Kirk. I knew Charlie quite well. He endorsed my campaign. It was a rare endorsement to come down ballot to endorse in a state race. And Charlie said that I'm the only candidate that has the receipts and the courage to follow Trump's footsteps and to lead Texas and in this position. And he knew that what I'm going to do as comptroller would have an effect across the nation. But on the financial side, I put a lot of money in it. There's no campaign limit in Texas. You can donate any amount of money. And, of course, you can self-fund a campaign also. So I put millions in the campaign, but this is a very, very expensive process to run statewide. It's extremely expensive. We think the budget for this campaign needs to be about $18 million.
Wow. All right. And when you talk about, eliminating waste, I think part of what we're talking about is small government. How many people work in the comptroller's office?
3,000.
3,000. Okay. How do you eliminate all the waste in Texas without becoming a big government entity yourself?
Well, first I'm going to start being an example in my own office. So I've got to, find out who, are they doing their work? Who are they, who the team members are? Are they performing correctly or not? Are they duplicating work? Can we do it with less people? And I can tell you, AI is making a difference.
Okay.
And a lot of jobs now are susceptible to being taken over by AI. And there's a lot of customers are much more satisfied with AI than they are dealing with an individual on the phone.
Okay.
And I'm going to make this one thing I want to get really clear. Taxpayer friendly. I look at the taxpayers as the customer. I'm a business guy, and the taxpayers need to be treated with respect, and I'm here to represent them.
Okay. Let's talk about El Paso, because you took the time to come here, as I kind of mentioned at the beginning of the program. El Paso, I feel like sometimes doesn't feel like it's a part of Texas. Speak into that. Why you came here? What's your view of the city? Do we matter to the rest of Texas? This is mainly a Democratic city. You're running as a Republican candidate. Why did you take the time to come here? All of that. Speak into that.
Well, I've always liked El Paso. This isn't my first trip. I've been here several times in the past, and it's the only city that has in Texas that actually has a mountain in it, But no, I know you guys are closer to L.A. than you are Dallas, and I get it. You're halfway to, through
Sure.
New Mexico.
Yeah.
And so, I've always liked El Paso. Always have. I like the people. I like the culture. And I think it's been ignored too much by the Republican Party. How do you get something if you don't ask for it? Why would anybody want to be a Republican if we don't come out here and work it? And I'm going to earn the vote of every voter in El Paso, whether they're Democrat or Republican. And this is a primary. The battle's in the Republican primary, which is March the 3rd. Early voting starts February the 18th. So it's really going to be over with before then. Everybody wants to vote early. But I'm a taxpayer champion. I'm here for everybody. I'm going to have an open communications. We're going to have very good transparency. And I think it's a nonpartisan issue if you want to see where your money's going. Everybody wants to know if their money's being spent properly. I do. I'm a taxpayer. I want to know where my money's going.
Okay. All right. So you're going all over Texas. You've come to El Paso. I read a history book recently about El Paso. And the surprise final chapter of the book was basically a call to action for El Paso to but become part of New Mexico. What would you say to El Pasoans about that, being a part of Texas?
Well, no. No, we want El Paso to stay in Texas. It's our culture. It's our history. It's our heritage. Your heritage is with Texas, not New Mexico. Really, besides, it's politically speaking, you're better off in Texas. We got a little more stroke than New Mexico.
Okay.
In Washington.
All right. You heard it from Mr. Huffines. We have to stay in Texas.
No, you got to. Don't even think about it.
I don't even think about it.
No. Just because you're on a separate time zone.
Yeah, we do have our own time zone over here. But as you're going through the campaign, how do you know that you're running a successful campaign?
Well, I tell you, wherever I go, there's so many great patriots out there that show up and they visit with us and they visit with me and they're excited to see me running. But more than that, of course, is the polling. And our polls show us that we're substantially ahead of all of our competition.
Okay. Now I want to ask you possibly the most difficult question, El Paso related. We're right here on the border. My understanding is your view is very much for strong borders, looking even into the school system, what students are there as part of families that are not legally in the United States. Can you speak into that?
I certainly can. I have a real affinity for Mexico. I really do. And I told the story a little bit ago, but we homeschooled my children. So in 1999, I loaded everybody up, tied the mattresses to the top of the minivan, and all 7 of us, we took off to Mexico. And that was to make sure they would learn the culture. And I put them in Mexican schools.
Wow.
And we drove all over Mexico, and they stayed down there for a whole 2 semesters. And they were young in elementary school.
You had a study abroad program as part of your homeschool curriculum? Is that what you're saying?
It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. But it was a great experience. And I love Mexico. I've driven from Manzanilla to Veracruz to Mexico City, from Dallas and all that. So I preface what I'm going to answer by telling you that. But I am not a fan of illegal immigration. It's just absolutely not fair to everybody else that went through the process. And we need to secure our borders. We don't have a country if we don't have secure borders. And the other thing isn't fair is that Texas is dealing with the cost of illegal immigration that other states don't bear. We have 1,200 miles of the border, and they don't have these problems that we have in other states, like spending about $8 billion a year educating kids in the government, our Texas school system, that aren't supposed to be here. That burden is on Texas taxpayers. And I want the federal government to reimburse Texas for educating kids because they didn't secure the border.
Okay, so this is interesting for me because I didn't hear that last part when I looked on just quick internet, social media snippets. So essentially what you're saying is you understand that there are people in Texas illegally. Their children are going to school. You're not recommending that those children be kicked out of the school. What you're saying is the federal government should reimburse Texas for the cost of education of those children?
That is
that
correct.
What I heard you say?
But the first thing we have to do is find out how many that really is. I mean, I can't take the bill up to the White House and say that, oh, we estimate this or that. I want to know exactly how many there is, and that's what they're going to want to know when we want to get reimbursed. So, and I think we should relitigate that case. It was a Texas case in a U.S. Supreme Court in 1982 said that Texas had to educate. Every state does. Has to educate anybody that walks in the door, and which is fine until you have millions of kids or hundreds of thousands because we're on the border walking in the door. And that we've been paying for.
So the pathway to that, from what I'm hearing you say, is through the court system, basically requiring the federal government to cover the cost of that education.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the Comptroller's office can somehow initiate that?
Well, that's the goal.
Okay. All right. Well, that's super interesting for me because I heard the first part. But I didn't hear the second part. Like, what's the answer? I think for a lot of people it would be confusing. What do we do with the children, especially in a city like El Paso? They need education, but what you're suggesting is not kicking them out of the school, but just the financial reimbursement.
That is
part.
correct.
Okay. Super interesting. Okay, we only have a couple minutes left. If you're just joining us, you can go to desertvoice.media next week and listen to this in podcast format. We've been with Mr. Don Huffines. He's running for Comptroller of the state of Texas. What would be kind of your final word of call to action for our listening community?
Well, look, this is a very, very important position. It affects everyone in the state of Texas, and you need to pay attention, and you need to vote in the Republican primary because that's what's going to be where the action is in Texas, and our statewide races in the Republican primary. I'm the leading candidate. I'm here to represent everyone in Texas, and I'm going to Doge Texas and find out where our money's really being spent. And you can go to donhuffines.com. That's HUFFINES, donhuffines.com, donhuffines.com. And you can see everything I'm going to Doge. You can see all my endorsements, and it's a massive list. Like I said, it's essentially every major Republican organization in the state of Texas is lined up behind me. We're going to win this, but I need your help.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in today, Mr. Huffines, and I hope that we as our listening audience will get to know more of what's happening, not just here locally and in Washington, D.C., but here in our great state of Texas. As we always say, let's learn to love our city. I'll add to that, let's learn to love our state, and let's learn to love our neighbors and give God all the glory. This has been 915 Talk. You have been listening to 915 Talk, a production of Desert Voice Media. In order to listen to previous editions of 915 Talk, just visit desertvoice.media. Let's learn together to love our city, love our neighbors, and give God all the glory.
Hi, I'm Johnny Erickson Tata with a special scripture verse. It's Ephesians chapter 2, verse 22, and it says, "In him you..."